You only have one life to live, so get the most out of it. On Good Life, Great Life, join me, Brian Highfield, and my guests as we share success stories, habits, mindsets, and lessons learned by successful people. These lessons are not taught in schools, but are critical for getting ahead in life. Whether you want a successful business or career, optimal health, or a lifestyle that most people just dream of, Good Life, Great Life has you covered. After retiring from a successful corporate career in my 40s, I founded multi-million-dollar businesses in the sports and healthcare arenas. Now, I help everyday people maximize their lives and speak regularly at seminars, on podcasts, and radio shows to share principles on the topics of health, wealth, and happiness. Don't let a good life get in the way of a great life. Join me today on Good Life, Great Life. Well, welcome to another episode of Good Life, Great Life, where we bring you some successful entrepreneurs where you can hear their stories about what it takes to start a successful business. And so today we have Seshu Madabushi. So Seshu's from Dallas, Texas, and he is the founder and creator of eConnect, which is a solution, a marketing system solution for restaurants. So welcome to the program, Seshu.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to be an entrepreneur in the first place and want to start a business.
So I consider myself to be analytical, always like looking for solutions to problems. So with that, I always try to see whatever out there in the sense from a market potential perspective. I try to see, hey, coming back to eConnect as a solution, right? Like I was working on another idea during which I interacted with a lot of restaurant owners, specifically mom and pop shop owners. And then during my interaction, I figured out that most of these mom and pop owners, when they start a restaurant business, they actually have great product, but they also have unusual expectations in the sense that, hey, they think that my product is very good. I would actually have a lot of business out there. And most of them are being chefs or operationally oriented, not market savvy or marketing savvy. So when they start the business, they either go to business and then with very marketing or focus, or maybe they would go or come across one person who say that, hey, we are basically publishing an ad page or something which will go to 20,000 people. Will you be able to handle 2,000 families in the month one? And that's pretty much it. That's their marketing budget in the sense. So anyways, so what I've figured out is like from a need perspective, I figured like from restaurants perspective, marketing has to be something which has to be and not an afterthought, but it has to be an initial thought itself in the sense right from the beginning. Even before you can think of the concept, you need to think of the location and all those kind of things. And that's how eConnect has from an idea to basically an execution or an ideation process, right? So that's how I've come up with this idea called eConnect. So
yeah, so you saw that there was a need out there for this, right? Because there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of mom and pop run businesses, run restaurants, and so you saw this need. Now, did you have a job in this space before, or what was your background?
So before that, I was working on another idea. It was like a Groupon clone for the Indian community. As part of that, when interacting with a lot of small businesses, most of them are restaurants, trying to come up with coupons and all those kind of things. That's when I realized that again, going back to the marketing need, right? Like again, if you look at our proposition, it's not just we do not just do social media, we do not do reputation management. We basically look at marketing as a whole. And again, in terms of the need itself, if you look at it, people do not think like marketing as customer centric. And that's what eConnect brings to the table, where we focus on who a particular customer is for a particular restaurant. And then based on that, we try to come up with some strategies and some channels and all those messages and all those kind of things, which will basically make sure that we bring people to the store and bring awareness and all those kind of things. So going back to your question, yes, I was actually interacting with a lot of restaurant owners in my previous life before mConnect, and that's how I actually realized that there is a specific need which focuses mostly on what we call as a customer-centric marketing strategies.
Great. So our audience, a lot of people are thinking about, starting a business and maybe looking at a niche like you have, and build a successful business out of. What advice would you give those people that are thinking about starting their own business and being an entrepreneur?
I would actually give maybe two advice. Again, as I said, I'm still learning, as every day is new for me, in the sense I interact with a lot of restaurant owners. I basically interact with partners and all those things, and every day is a learning experience. But top of my head, I can think of two main things that are very crucial for me as an entrepreneur that helps me sustain, right? One is, whenever you come up with an idea, make sure that you are actually validating the idea. A lot of entrepreneurs think that, hey, idea is very crucial. I don't want to share with people. Let me kind of like work in my own room, or like try to do stuff by themselves without, and then when they try to go to the market, it fails miserably. The reason being that you need to talk to people. Ideas are dime a dozen. End of the day, when you, like, for example, when I was thinking about mConnect, I talked to a lot of people saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. What do you think? What would be the price point? What do you think? How I should basically approach? And I got like a lot of good advice in terms of saying, hey, like, yes, I would be willing to pay X amount of dollars, but you also need to show results. How could you quantify the results, and how would you position it? Do you have to go through mom and pops, or can you go to franchisers or franchisors, and all those kind of good advice? So make sure that before you jump, talk to as many people as possible, validate the idea. But it doesn't mean that like you just take every advice that you're getting, right? End of the day, you need to use your own judgment. That's number one advice I would say before even you can get started. The second thing is, always think about this as a marathon. It's not like, entrepreneurship is not like a sprint. You need to basically pace yourself in terms of making sure that you can sustain, right? It's a lot of ups and downs. So that means when I'm talking of marathon, you need to actually have a lot of and sustenance power. That power comes only through good family networks, so you can depend on them when you're down or when you're feeling low or something like that. Friends who you can depend on, right? And obviously you need to think about this as a long run. It's like success doesn't come overnight, right? So people, when they hear all these, someone who made millions of dollars and all those kind of things, they do not recognize the fact that it does take a lot of effort, and it is a team effort. It's not just you as a single entrepreneur. I wouldn't say like anyone, if you, obviously I'm kind of quote a lot of big names here, Zuckerberg or whatever be the case, even your local restaurant owner or even a small business owner, right? You do not think of entrepreneurship as making billions of dollars, right? But even like an owner or anyone has to depend on his employees, on his partners, and all those kind of things. So think of it as a long-term goal, and make sure that you have the right sustenance in terms of having the right partners, right employees, and everything. Obviously, there has to be a lot of things which has to go in the right direction, and it does not come, it has to be a practice, as in it's not like you can find good employees on try number one, right? And on those kind of things. So you need to have good partners as well. You cannot do everything by yourself. So it's a marathon, which obviously when you think of a marathon, you need to basically train yourself. You need to go through the extra mile, making sure that like after the 16th or the 17th dead mile, you make sure that you are actually hitting your marathon goal, kind of a thing. So these are my top two advices. So
I think those are two excellent pieces of advice for people. And something you said was kind of striking and kind of plays into both your points. You said the ideas are a dime a dozen, and I can't agree. There's so many good ideas out there. And I think what separates successful entrepreneurs from other people is the work that's involved. And I think that ties into your second point is you can have a great idea, but it means nothing if you're not willing to do what it takes to actually go out and implement that idea. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, as I said, right, execution is everything. Maybe idea is 0.01%, the rest of 99.99 is execution. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you went out and you sought help. Like you said, you need to validate that idea. You do some market research and see if this is something that can actually make money at, and that there's a demand for, and things like that. But you sought help of people. And so talk about mentorship and finding a mentor, and who are the right people to ask the questions.
So in my case, to be very frank, when I was actually looking at restaurants, I was actually going to restaurant owners, and I was actually going to franchisee developers, and I was not looking for money, or at that point of time, I did not go and try to raise like thousands and thousands of dollars, because for me, it's more about validation. So in terms of mentorship, right, try to find someone who's actually in that industry, who can basically give you, who has been through that, or who can basically give you some solid advice. Do not just go because it's a big name kind of a thing, right? Again, I'm just giving an example here, right? I cannot go and ask a billionaire just because he's a billionaire to talk about restaurants, right? So make sure that whenever you're talking to a mentor, he or she basically has they have gone through the trenches in terms of work-wise, whatever industry you are in, whether it's in restaurant or high tech or healthcare or whatever be the case, right? Or retail kind of a thing. And then before you're going to that particular mentor, you need to basically ask yourself as to what exactly you're looking for, right? In the sense that, hey, most of the times for me, obviously at different stages of life of an entrepreneurship, your mentorship or the relationship changes. At the very initial beginning, your mentor can be someone who can actually validate the idea, who can basically give you advice and all those kind of things. As you progress along the lines, the mentor you are looking for can be looking for who can help you scale the business, right? If you are having issues with your setting up your sales force or something like that, someone who has actually done sales or something on those lines. And then when you're trying to raise money and all those kind of things, or maybe partnerships, then your mentorship, the kind of mentor you're looking for could be someone who has been a VC or who has raised funds, or who can basically open doors for you to talk about strategic alliances. So you need to basically think about where you stand with regards to your venture. And based on that, you need to go for a mentor who can basically help you. Again, you need to be very clear in terms of what exactly you're looking for when you approach any person, and what advice you're, so that mentors, if you look at it, right, again, end of the day, there are a lot of people who can approach the mentor and say, hey, I need advice. And then I can give you a whole lot of talking, and no specific points. You're wasting the mentor's time as well as your time. So I would basically focus on these two aspects: what exactly you're looking for, and where in your journey are you, and you can approach the right person in terms of if whatever you are asking, if it fits the profile of that particular person.
So in all your conversations and talk to these people, I mean, you're talking to successful restaurant people, which is great, right? So these people obviously are successful, so you can talk to them to understand how the business works and learn from them. I always say, if you want what someone has, you have to go do what they do, right? And so you kind of learn that way. And you also said something striking, because you said you need to use your own judgment when you get advice from people as well. So have you ever gotten bad advice from people you sought what they thought?
I wouldn't call that as a bad advice, right? End of the day, whatever, again, my perspective is that people love to talk. Whenever you approach someone, again, most of them, I get right, they love to talk. And at the end of the day, it's like chafing. You need to basically figure out what exactly is worth it, right? So in terms of, again, to be very frank on the bad advice part, it's not just that, like, again, initially you talked about, it's not just I talk to like people who are successful restaurateurs. I also talk to people who fail, right? End of the day, you learn from them as well.
Right.
in terms of making sure what mistakes they have committed or what things they have not done right, so that you can basically learn from that. So from that perspective, it's not a question of bad advice. I would actually say that, hey, one of the things maybe in previous life was we raised funds and there was this spray and pray kind of a thing. Do not basically, one of the things which we have done was go to multiple cities, not in this venture, but before venture was like where we went to multiple cities before we could consolidate or we could get a foothold in a current city kind of a thing. That was like basically the another venture which we have started. So that was something which I regret. So again, going back, like you need to make sure that you focus on one thing and make sure that you do that right.
Awesome. Good advice. So let's talk about your lifestyle a little bit, because a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, they may be coming from an employment background where they were working a 9 to 5, and they become, you know, they maybe they have a side business and it becomes a main business. Maybe it's a hobby. It starts making money, but then they find themselves working 24/7. They're always putting in time towards that. Now, a lot of people don't mind that because that's their passion. A lot of other people would look at that and say, well, did you really gain anything? You're putting all your time into this. You have no free time. Kind of, where do you fall on the spectrum, or maybe you're past that point and maybe, you know, the business kind of runs itself and you have that free time, but where do you fall on that spectrum right now?
Yeah, so right now I would say that the business at this time is, I used to work like I would say 16, 17 hours a day, and it was all like all over the place kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my family used to get very frustrated because I'm not there when they need me, but they are still understanding in terms of what I do. And as you said, it's the passion which basically makes you drive. It's end of the day, if you're not passionate enough for anything, even entrepreneurship, all the more, because you're not seeing the results from day one, you will not go anywhere. Again, like right, again, my perspective on that one is you need to have passion. So in terms of at this point of time, obviously it's still, and it's not in a cruise mode, but it's getting there, and we are able to like get good partners and good employees and all those kind of things. That's where it is. And in terms of the lifestyle itself, right, again, there are two kinds of entrepreneurship, right? Like one is basically who is trying to grow the business and make sure that it is sustainable and all those kind of things. And one is more like a lifestyle business. So you need to think of which path you want to choose. Are you basically looking at something I want to do on the sites and basically I'm okay with that? Like, let's assume you're selling knitwear or something like that on e-commerce site. Maybe whenever you get an order, I'll fulfill it or something on those lines. But do you really want to go and sell this knitwear to local, let's assume you have a nice product or something like that. Do you want to go to trade shows? Do you want to approach Amazon to sell on Amazon.com? Are there any publications which talks about knitwear where your business can be listed, or your name can be featured and all those kind of things? So you need to look at all these aspects and then kind of decide for yourself as to what kind of things that you want. And again, I'll go back to my earlier thing, right? If you are in this for an entrepreneurship, in terms of a long run, make sure that you can sustain that. Again, it's not like you cannot run a sprint and then just fall on the sides, because that is a sure way of failure, for at least from my perspective. So
yeah, a lot of people suffer burnout because they put so much time into it and they burn out before they get it across the finish line. So I see exactly what you're saying there. What's next for Seshu? I mean, what is your next big thing, and what are you looking to in your next phase of being an entrepreneur?
Obviously, from my point of view, there are I'm a more of a metric driven guy. So I'm obviously looking at number of clients, number of partners and all those kind of things. But I do actually have like a 2025 goal. And hopefully if I meet that goal, I would basically try to see, again, make sure that mConnect as a company has made a difference in terms of a lot of restaurant owners, and be it a mom and pop or be it a franchisee location still. So we are positioning our platform in terms of helping people out, because that's what I'm passionate about, because that's what obviously everyone says that I want to give something back to the community. I am kind of giving back to the community based on like, I just had an interview with or met with a new potential client yesterday, and they are very successful in one state, but they are struggling here. And it's, for me, if I make a difference in terms of raising their revenues and all those kind of things, I feel good about it. So in terms of what next for me is, I want to make sure that I can grow so that I can make an impact in terms of restaurant owners / platform / franchisees / franchisors. And at the same time, for my employees as well, they feel that they are doing something in terms of something they are learning and also giving back to the community, kind of a thing. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
But
No, it's great. Awesome. So how can our audience learn more about mConnect or be able to connect with you, Seshu?
They can actually go to our website, which is mconnect.com, and connect with a K, mkonnekt.com. And if they need any specific advice with regards to entrepreneurship or anything like that, they can send an email at mobile@mconnect.com, or search me up on LinkedIn as well. Or if there are any other restaurant owners or anyone out there who needs some help or at least guidance or whatever be the case, they're also more than free to reach out to me. And we do actually help out restaurants who are struggling, and we have done in the past where we have done some pro bono advice and as well as some marketing help for those restaurants who are struggling because of the COVID and all those kind of things. So
awesome. Great stuff. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with us today, Seshu. This has been awesome. So our guest today has been Seshu Madabushi, who is the founder of mConnect. And so that does it for today's episode of Good Life, Great Life. And I hope you join us next time where we have another great topic about entrepreneurship, business, and leadership. Thank you so much, Seshu.
Thank you very much, Brian, for your time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Good Life, Great Life, brought to you by Brian Highfield. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's guests and stories. If you like what you've heard, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts.